Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Friday the 23rd of May. Starting with the FTSE 100, which has got over the dip that we had in sympathy with the bond market, but of course, who cares about the bond market? We've got the market back above back at the old peak from March there around 87.50, and above that on an end-of-day close basis, looking at the top of that broadening triangle shown in green from last March, heading as high as 9,000, looking for that by the end of next month. Moving on to the DAX, and here this was already up at the highs and continues to be up at the highs. There's a little way to go now for 24,400, and that's the top of the rising trend channel there from March last year. Hopefully we'll get that in the next few days, especially while we're above the old March resistance, 23,500. Moving on to the Dow, which has been the problem child of late, and I suppose continues to be the problem child. The good thing here, though, is that we've bounced above the latest gap, 41,500, while we're above that, looking for a retest of recent resistance through 42,800. That was basically a bull trap double top with the March resistance, but basically still we have an inverted head and shoulders, needing to break 42,800 to get up to the highs again, 45,000. Next on the list is Bitcoin, where all the action is, and everyone and their mother trying to be a Bitcoin treasury company. We're up at 111,000, finding support at and above the old resistance at 109, above 109, looking for as high as $122,000 by the end of next month. Obviously, we were and still secretly hope for 120,000 by the end of this month, but obviously time is running out. If we do break back below 109, then the initial 106 resistance for May could be on the cards, but not expecting worse than that now. Moving along to the situation at gold, and here you can see that we've got the market still within that rising trend channel, a very steep one, but obviously finding it's still relatively hard work. The floor of the channel there around 32.70. Above that, we're looking for a break of the April resistance line there at 33.75 to give us a move up to the top of the channel as high as 3800 by the end of next month. Worst case scenario, we're going to test the floor, we've got to test the 50-day moving average just below the floor of that rising trend channel, 31.95. Just thought we'd look at pound dollar because apparently it's moving a bit at the moment, and here, after a lot of jiggery pokery either side of 133, it looks like even with the interest rate cut that we had, which we probably shouldn't have had when with inflation going up, the market is taking the view that the pound is a buy and heading towards the old peak there from April 2021 towards $1.42. And the upside there, especially while we hold above the 50-day line there at 131.60. Ideally, we stay on the right side of 133 at the moment. You see there was an RSI 50 rebound earlier this month with that low that we had in place just below $1.32. Moving on to the stocks, starting off with Blencowe, which has reminded the market that the DFC loves it and is sending it money and non-dilutive money, which rather begs the question of why the shares were down below 3 pence for quite a long time, but earlier in April and May, but we're through the worst of it now, it would appear, breaking through the 50-day line there at 3.16 and looking for the top of that broadening triangle there from back in November as high as 5 pence by the end of next month. Big Technologies is next, and a nice little rebound there, V-shaped rebound, breaking through recent resistance at 108, and above that looking for not only, well, the initial target here was 116, but above 116, looking for up to £1.60 by the end of next month, which should be very nice indeed for shareholders. On to Carclo, and here see that we've got the stock breaking out just a couple of days or a couple of sessions away from a golden cross between the 50 and 200-day lines, and at the top of the channel there up to 53 pence, which we're looking for by the end of next month, while we're above the latest gap there at 36 pence. Cizzle Biotechnology is next, and here, even though the company is relatively quiet, we see that there has been some decent breakthrough in terms of the share price. 50 and 200-day lines both rising with the stock near the low, so we're looking for a minimum 2.4 pence by the end of next month, hoping that this will be one of those periodic spikes in the shares. You can see that, unfortunately, every time there is a spike through 2p, somebody knocks it down, like Djokovic. Moving along to the situation at a company which I picked out, I think this time last week. It's only up 34% now. I think that the initial call was around the 0.16016 area, but whatever it was, we've got the shares having risen above a rising 50-day line near the base. I call it a sideways shuffle, looking for a minimum there at around the 0.03 level, hopefully in the next few days. Ideally, we stay above recent resistance at 0.018. Next up is Creightons, and here couldn't resist looking at it, even though it's a slow mover, because one has been able to upgrade the upside there to 62p, hopefully by the end of next month or July. Looking for the initial target there at 48p, but that seems to be a done deal, given the way that we've just had a golden cross between the 50 and 200-day moving averages. So looking quite nice indeed, especially while we're on the right side of the old February resistance, 35p. Obviously, with Bitcoin going through the roof, we have a good feel and a good vibe, not only for Coinbase, but UK's Coinsilium. And here you can see that we've had a sharp rebound after the fundraise that we had last week at 1.5p. Looking for the top of that rising trend channel as high as 5.5p initially, and obviously by the end of, let's say, next month, up towards 9p, which is a resistance line projection from back in the summer of 2022. This stage, hoping that the shares will remain on the right side of the 3.5 to 4p area, which they seem to be keen on doing. Moving along to Distil, and here we've had the sideways shuffle above a rising 50-day line and looking for the top of triangle target there as high as 0.22 by the end of next month. It's obviously a bit of a punchy call, but the setup now looking quite punchy as well, with the RSI 50 rebounds above neutral 50. Moving along to a situation which is catching the eye at the moment, the UK's first defence company or something like that, defence consultancy, that kind of thing. In fact, better to look at the actual news there, which said the UK's first publicly listed pure play defence technology platform, whatever that means. But we've already had the shares hitting the second target, which they did yesterday, 0.16, and the third target at 0.47. So who says the charting doesn't work? Next level up here would obviously be towards a penny, but there was support on the way down around 0.7, so perhaps that is the best case scenario target to look at the moment, even though it's probably done as well as it can do in the near term. Probably looking for any dips towards the 0.2 area and then a retest of the 0.5 area as the next direction of travel. Moving along to GCM Resources, and here you can see that shares looking quite perky at the moment. We've broken back above the 50 and 200-day lines. We've also broken that little wedge formation that we were in at 2.5p or 2.6p. Above 2.6, just looking for a retest of March resistance through 5p, hopefully by the end of next month, and especially when the 200-day line starts rising. Invinity is next, and here, broken through the 200-day line, looking for 22p at the top of that broadening triangle. Hopefully we'll get that by the end of next month, while we are above recent support and the gap at 12p. Moving on to Jangada, and here, picture looking rather better than it has for a while, given that we've broken through the 200-day line. The top of the falling trend channel target there was around 1.18, but we're looking for 1.6p, while we're above that 200-day line by the end of next month. Moving along to the situation at Newmark, and here it looks as though the shares are revving up with a sideways shuffle above a rising 50-day line. Obviously, we're looking for that end-of-day close above 77.5p. We can get that. The picture over the next couple of months is up to as high as £1.20. Not sure what that would do that, but the setup here with a double bounce at RSI 50 and support at and above the rising 50-day line, looks surprisingly encouraging. So upside value there while we're above the 70 pence area. Petro is next, and here you can see we've broken through the 200-day line. Looks like we'll find support this time after the two or three sell-offs that we've had at the 50-day line before, 200-day line rather before. Top of the rising trend channel base at 3 pence, which we're looking for by the end of next month. Moving along to the last three. The first one is the hottest stock at the moment, hotter than July, one could say, and it is Smarter Web, even though crackpot people have been saying from the 10 pence share price that the shares are overvalued. Obviously now at 55 pence, they look even more crackpot than they did before. Current charting position is that, and there's actually very little point in saying stocks look overvalued just because they're going up. Not really, it doesn't really have any logic at all. Current situation here is that the floor of the channel there is at 41 pence, top of the channel up to 80 pence, and the 80 pence level is what we're looking for as a best case scenario target by the end of next month. Ideally, though, today we see an end of day close above the initial resistance there at 53 pence, so that would be a decent technical win, even though we are still bullish down to 42 pence. On to Tekcapital, where all the metrics were great this morning, apart from perhaps the cash position, but who cares about the cash position? We've got a rising 200-day line, and probably expecting this to go into a golden cross setup over the next week or so. Top of the channel there up to 13 pence, which we're looking for by the end of next month, while we remain above the floor of the channel at 7 3/4 pence. We had a bit of a false dawn with WeCap, but it came back to test the floor of that rising trend channel around the 0.8 level. That was the suggestion before, above 0.8, looking for 1.8, and it looks as though now, second time lucky, we'll get that. The 200-day line is rising, and as long as we can stay above that, I think on an end-of-day close basis or a weekly close basis, 1.8 could be possible by the end of next month. That's it for me today. More updates over the weekend.